Jake Morrison walked through the long halls of the Earthship. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The ship was called the USS Endeavour, and it was the first human ship built to travel between stars. Jake was the commander of this ship. He had been working on this mission for 3 long years. The mission was simple but important. Earth needed to join the Galactic Council. This group controlled most of the galaxy. They had 47 different alien species working together. If humans could join them, Earth would get new technology and protection. Without the Council, humans would be alone in a dangerous galaxy. Lisa Carter was reading papers in her small office. She was Earth's top diplomat, and these papers were very important. They were the treaty documents that would make Earth a member of the Galactic Council. Lisa had read them many times. The deal seemed fair to her. Humans would give the aliens some rare metals from Earth. They would also send soldiers to help keep peace in the galaxy. In return, the aliens would share their advanced technology and protect Earth from enemies. Lisa did not know that the treaty had hidden parts. These parts were written in an old alien language that almost nobody could read. Only 3 beings in the entire galaxy knew this ancient language. The hidden words would destroy humanity's future, but Lisa could not see them. The signing ceremony was going to happen on a planet called Kepler Prime. This world belonged to nobody, so it was a safe place for important meetings. Jake's ship was flying there now. On board were Earth's best diplomats and military officers. They all felt excited and hopeful. Finally, humans would have friends among the stars. Roy Blake was the ship's captain. He was a good man who loved his job. Roy had spent his whole life in the military, and this mission was the most important thing he had ever done. He walked around the ship, talking to his crew. Everyone was ready for the big day. Some of the younger officers had never seen aliens before. They were nervous but excited. Kate Sullivan was an admiral in Earth's Space Navy. She was older than most of the other officers, and she had seen many battles. Kate was smart and careful. She always planned for problems before they happened. But even she did not expect what was coming. The aliens had been very friendly during all the meetings. They seemed to want humans as partners. The ship reached Kepler Prime after a long journey. The planet was beautiful, with purple skies and silver cities. Thousands of alien ships were already there. They came from all over the galaxy to watch humans join the council. Jake looked out the window and saw ships that looked like crystals, others that were round like balls, and some that seemed to move like living creatures. The ceremony was held in a huge building made of glass and light. Aliens of every shape and size filled the room. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others had 4 legs or 6 or many tentacles. Some floated in the air. A few looked like plants or rocks. Jake had never seen anything like it. Lisa Carter walked to the center of the room. She carried the treaty papers in her hands. An alien diplomat met her there. This alien was tall and thin, with blue skin and large black eyes. It spoke through a machine that changed its words into English. "Today, humans join the great family of the galaxy," the alien said. Its voice sounded like music through the machine. "We welcome Earth to the Galactic Council." Lisa smiled and signed her name on the papers. The alien signed too, using a strange symbol that glowed with light. All around the room, other aliens made happy noises. Some clapped their hands or tentacles. Others sang songs that sounded like wind chimes. Roy Blake raised his glass of wine. "To friendship between all species," he said loudly. Everyone in the room drank to celebrate. Kate Sullivan smiled and sent a message back to Earth. The message said that the treaty was signed and everything was perfect. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. They thought their planet was safe now. Children looked up at the stars and dreamed of visiting other worlds. Scientists planned to study alien technology. Politicians talked about the bright future that was coming. But the celebration did not last long. 6 hours after the treaty was signed, everything changed. Huge alien ships appeared around Earth. They came out of nowhere like ghosts becoming real. More ships surrounded every human colony in space. The colonies were small groups of people living on other planets and moons. Now they were all trapped. The UA aliens sent a message to Earth's leaders. The message was short and terrible. It said that humans were now prisoners. The treaty they had signed was a trap. Hidden in the old language were words that made humans slaves. The aliens called it protective custody, but it meant the same thing as slavery. Earth's president tried to call the aliens. He wanted to talk and fix the problem. But the aliens would not listen. They sent another message instead. It said that humans had to leave Earth and go to special prison planets. Anyone who refused would be killed. The aliens gave humans 1 week to surrender. Jake Morrison stood on his ship and watched the alien fleet surround them. His hands shook with anger. The aliens had lied to them. They had pretended to be friends while planning to destroy human freedom. Jake thought about his wife and children back on Earth. He wondered if he would ever see them again. Lisa Carter sat in her room and cried. She had trusted the aliens completely. She had signed the paper that doomed her own species. The guilt felt like a heavy stone in her chest. She had been a fool, and now everyone would pay for her mistake. Roy Blake called his officers together. His face was hard and angry. "They think we're weak," he said. "They think humans will just give up and become their pets. But they're wrong. We're going to fight back." Kate Sullivan was already making plans. She knew this day might come even though she had hoped it would not. Earth had secret weapons and hidden bases. The aliens thought humans were primitive and helpless. Soon they would learn how wrong they were. The war was about to begin. Ben Hayes was deep underground when the alien ships attacked Earth. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and his job was to protect important secrets. The bunker where he worked was hidden under the Rocky Mountains. It was built long ago, in case of war. Now that war had come from the stars. The bunker had thick walls made of steel and concrete. It could survive almost any attack. Inside were computers, weapons, and enough food to last for years. Ben had been preparing for this day ever since humans first met the aliens. He did not trust them, and now he knew he was right. Amy Rodriguez was a scientist who worked in the same bunker. She was very smart and knew more about alien technology than anyone else on Earth. For 3 years, Amy had been studying every piece of alien equipment the diplomats brought back. She took apart their machines and learned how they worked. Then she built new weapons using their own technology against them. The aliens thought humans were stupid and primitive. They saw Earth's rockets and nuclear bombs and laughed. They did not know that Amy's team had been building plasma guns and energy shields in secret. The alien diplomats had been so proud of their technology that they showed humans too much. Now that knowledge would be used to fight back. When the alien fleet appeared around Earth, the attack began immediately. Bright beams of energy came down from the ships in space. They hit military bases, airports, and government buildings. The aliens wanted to destroy Earth's ability to fight back, but they did not know about the hidden bases and secret weapons. Ben Hayes sent messages to resistance, fighters all over the world. These were soldiers, scientists, and ordinary people who refused to surrender. They hid in caves, forests, and underground tunnels. Each group had weapons and supplies that Amy's team had made. The aliens would find that conquering Earth was much harder than they thought. Paul Murphy was a captain in the Space Marines. When the aliens attacked, he was on a space station near Mars. The station was small and seemed unimportant, so the aliens ignored it at first. This was a big mistake. Paul used the station as a base to attack alien supply ships. He had only 12 soldiers with him, but they caused big problems for the enemy. Paul's team would hide behind asteroids and wait for alien ships to pass by. Then they would attack with small, fast ships that were hard to see. They would destroy the alien ship and disappear before help could arrive. The aliens became afraid to travel alone. They had to use big groups of ships just to carry supplies, which made them slow and easy to track. Susan Clark was a major in the intelligence service. Her job was to spy on the aliens and learn their secrets. Susan was very good at this work. She could speak several alien languages and knew how to hack into their computer systems. From her hidden base on the moon, she listened to alien radio messages and stole their battle plans. Susan discovered something important. The aliens were not as united as they seemed. Many of the species in the Galactic Council hated each other. They only worked together because they were afraid of the Council's leaders. Some species had been forced to join the Council just like the aliens wanted to force humans. These species might become allies if humans could contact them. The resistance grew stronger every day. Jake Morrison had escaped from Kepler Prime when the trap was revealed. His ship, the USS Endeavour, became a mobile base for attacks on alien fleets. Jake was a good commander, and he inspired his crew to fight harder than they thought possible. They hit alien ships and bases throughout the solar system. The aliens sent messages to Earth demanding surrender. They said resistance was useless and would only cause more deaths. But humans did not listen. Every alien messenger who came to Earth found empty cities and booby traps. Every attempt to land troops was met with fierce fighting. The aliens expected humans to give up after a few days, but weeks passed and the fighting only got worse. Amy Rodriguez made contact with alien rebels. These were species that had refused to join the Galactic Council or had been kicked out for disobeying orders. The Corvan separatists were warriors who valued freedom above safety. The Free Worlds Alliance was a group of small planets that worked together to stay independent. Both groups hated the Council and were happy to help humans fight back. From these new allies, humans learned shocking truths about the Galactic Council. The Council was not the peaceful government it pretended to be. It was a dictatorship that ruled through fear and lies. 17 other species had been tricked and enslaved just like the Council tried to do to humans. Most of these species had given up and accepted their fate, but a few had kept fighting in secret. The alien rebels told humans about the Council's weaknesses. The government was huge and slow to change. The different species did not trust each other. The Council's military was strong but not used to real fighting. Most of their enemies surrendered quickly, so the Council's soldiers were not prepared for a long war. Ben Hayes used this information to plan bigger attacks. Instead of just fighting back, humans began to go on the offensive. They attacked alien bases on other planets. They rescued prisoners from Council ships. They even sent messages to enslaved species telling them that freedom was possible if they were willing to fight for it. The galaxy began to notice what was happening. For 200 years, the Galactic Council had seemed all-powerful. No species had ever successfully fought against them. But now, humans were not just surviving the Council's attacks. They were winning battles and making the Council look weak. Other species started to ask questions. If primitive humans could fight the Council, why couldn't they? Old anger and resentment began to surface. Species that had been quiet for generations started to remember what they had lost when the Council took over their worlds. Roy Blake, who had escaped Earth before the trap was sprung, gathered human colonies that were still free. These were settlements in distant star systems that the Council had not found yet. Roy organized them into a hidden network of bases and supply lines. The aliens thought they had trapped all humans, but thousands were still free and ready to fight. Kate Sullivan coordinated all the resistance groups from her secret command center. She made sure that Paul Murphy's raiders had supplies, that Susan Clark's spies had communication equipment, and that Amy Rodriguez's scientists had materials to build new weapons. Kate was like the brain of the resistance, connecting all the different parts into one fighting force. The aliens were starting to worry. What should have been a quick conquest was turning into a long and costly war. Worse, other species were watching and learning. The Council's reputation for invincibility was cracking. Soon the cracks would become breaks and the breaks would become a complete collapse. Rick Stone sat in a dark room filled with computer screens. He was a general who had spent his whole life preparing for war. But this war was different from anything he had imagined. The enemy came from space, and they thought humans were weak and stupid. Rick was about to show them how wrong they were. The room was the control center for Project Prometheus. This was Earth's most secret military program. For 20 years, Rick and his team had been building weapons and planning for a war that might never come. Now that war was here, and humanity was ready. Carol White was an engineer who built machines. She was working in a factory that used to make cars. Now it made weapons instead. Carol had taken the plans for mining equipment and changed them into something deadly. The machines that once dug rocks from asteroids now threw those same rocks at enemy ships. Each rock moved as fast as a bullet and hit with the force of a nuclear bomb. Joe Davis ran a factory that made computers and phones. When the war started, Joe changed everything in one night. His workers stopped making phones and started making parts for weapons. They worked 20 hours a day, sleeping on the factory floor when they got too tired to continue. Joe knew that every weapon they made might save human lives. The aliens thought they knew everything about human technology. They had seen Earth's rockets and decided humans were primitive. They laughed at human weapons and called them toys, but they had not seen what humans could really build when they were angry and desperate. Amy Rodriguez had been busy in her laboratory. She took alien technology and made it better. The aliens had shown humans their plasma weapons during the peace talks. They wanted to impress the primitive Earthlings. But Amy had improved the design and made the weapons twice as powerful. She also found ways to make human ships faster and stronger than alien ones. The first big test came at Saturn's moon called Titan. The aliens sent a huge fleet to destroy the human rebels hiding there. Admiral Vextar was the alien commander. He was proud and cruel, and he had destroyed many planets before. Vextar brought 200 ships with him. He expected to find scared humans with old weapons. Instead, he found Jake Morrison waiting for him. Jake had 50 human ships, but they were not the same ships the aliens had seen before. These ships were built using alien technology that Amy's team had stolen and improved. They moved faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Their weapons were more powerful than alien guns. Most importantly, the human pilots were different from any enemy the aliens had fought before. The human pilots had machines connected to their brains. These machines helped them think faster and react quicker than any living being should be able to. When an alien ship fired a weapon, the human pilot would dodge before the alien even finished pulling the trigger. The aliens were used to fighting slow, careful battles. Humans fought like wild animals that were not afraid to die. The battle started when Vextar's fleet came out of hyperspace near Titan. He expected to see humans running away in fear. Instead, Jake's ships attacked immediately. The human ships were small and fast. They flew in patterns that confused the alien gunners. Before the aliens could organize their defense, 20 of their ships were already destroyed. Vextar was angry and embarrassed. He ordered his ships to surround the humans and destroy them with overwhelming firepower. But the humans did not fight like the aliens expected. Instead of staying in space and shooting from far away, human ships got very close to alien vessels. Then soldiers in special armor jumped from one ship to another. The alien crews had never seen anything like human boarding parties. These soldiers wore powered armor that made them strong and fast. They carried weapons that could cut through alien metal like paper. But the most frightening thing about them was how they fought. They did not follow the careful rules of galactic warfare. They fought like predators hunting prey. On Vextar's flagship, 12 human Marines fought against 200 alien soldiers. The aliens had better numbers and knew their own ship better. But the humans had something the aliens did not understand. They had rage. Every human on that ship was fighting for their families, their planet, and their freedom. The aliens were just following orders. Paul Murphy led one of the boarding teams. He and his soldiers moved through the alien ship like ghosts. They knew exactly where to go because Susan Clark had hacked the ship's computers and given them maps. The aliens tried to stop them, but human weapons cut through alien armor easily. Within an hour, Paul's team had captured the ship's bridge. The space battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, Admiral Vextar was dead and his flagship was flying, a human flag. Most of his fleet was destroyed or captured. The humans had lost only 12 ships. It was the worst defeat the Galactic Council had suffered in over 200 years. News of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. Alien species that had been afraid of the Council for generations suddenly realized that the mighty galactic government could be beaten. The humans had proven that the Council's military was not invincible. If primitive Earthlings could destroy a Council fleet, what could other species do if they worked together? Carol White's kinetic weapons had been devastating in the battle. Asteroids thrown at incredible speed had smashed through alien shields like they were made of paper. The aliens had never seen weapons like these before. Their own technology was advanced but complicated. Human weapons were simple and brutal, designed to destroy rather than impress. Rick Stone watched the battle reports with satisfaction. Project Prometheus was working perfectly. The secret weapons and training programs were giving humans an advantage that the aliens could not match. But Rick knew this was only the beginning. The Council would send bigger fleets and better weapons. Humans needed to be ready for whatever came next. Joe Davis received word that his factory's weapons had performed well in the battle. His workers cheered when they heard the news. They had worked without sleep to build those weapons, and now they knew their sacrifice had meaning. Every human who died fighting the Council would be avenged by the weapons coming off Joe's production lines. The galaxy was changing. For centuries, the Galactic Council had ruled through fear and overwhelming force. No species had ever successfully challenged their power. But humans were different. They did not accept defeat. They did not surrender when the odds were against them. Instead, they got angry and fought harder. The Battle of Titan was over, but the war was just beginning. Humans had shown that they could fight the Council and win. Now other species would have to decide. Would they stay enslaved, or would they follow humanity's example and fight for their freedom? The choice would determine the future of the entire galaxy. The news from Titan spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 different worlds, enslaved species heard the impossible story. Humans, the newest and most primitive species in the galaxy, had destroyed a Council fleet. If it could happen, once it could happen again. Laura Kim was the president of Earth's government in hiding. She lived in a bunker deep underground, but her voice could reach every corner of the galaxy. Laura had been a teacher before the war started. She knew how to speak to people and make them believe in themselves. Now she would use that skill to change the galaxy forever. The broadcast equipment in Laura's bunker was built from stolen alien technology. Amy Rodriguez had designed it to send messages farther than any human radio had ever reached before. When Laura spoke into the microphone, her words would travel to every planet where intelligent life existed. Laura looked into the camera and began to speak. Her voice was calm but strong. She did not shout or make threats. She simply told the truth that the galaxy had forgotten. "Freedom is not a gift that rulers give to their people," she said. "Freedom is a right that belongs to every thinking being. Today, humans stand with all free peoples of the galaxy. We will not stop fighting until every cage is opened and every chain is broken." The message reached the Trilaxian mining guilds first. These were people who lived underground and dug precious metals from their planet's core. For 300 years, they had given all their wealth to the Council and received nothing in return. They were treated like slaves who happened to live on their own world. When the Trilaxians heard Laura's message, something changed inside them. They remembered stories their grandparents told about the time before the Council came. Back then, Trilaxians had been proud and independent. They had built beautiful cities and created amazing art. The Council had taken all of that away, but the memory remained. The Trilaxian rebellion started in the deepest mines. Workers put down their tools and picked up mining explosives instead. They used their knowledge of tunnels and underground passages to attack Council bases from below. The aliens who ruled their planet suddenly found themselves fighting an enemy they could not see or catch. On the water world of Hydros Prime, the aquatic peoples received Laura's message through underwater communication networks. These beings looked like dolphins but were much smarter. They had been forced to harvest kelp and fish for the Council's armies. Their own children often went hungry, while alien soldiers ate the food they had caught. The aquatic peoples were natural fighters, in the water, but they had never fought in space before. That changed when human advisors arrived in small, fast ships. Paul Murphy's Marines taught them how to use underwater bases to hide from orbital attacks. Soon, every Council ship that tried to land on Hydros Prime was pulled underwater by creatures the aliens had never seen before. The insectoid hive clusters were different from other species. They thought with one shared mind that connected millions of individual bugs. The Council had been using them as living computers, forcing the hive to solve mathematical problems for alien scientists. The bugs were treated like machines instead of living beings. When the hive clusters joined the rebellion, They brought something unique to the fight. Their shared mind could coordinate attacks across multiple star systems at the same time. While Council forces were fighting humans in one place, the Hive would attack their supply lines somewhere completely different. The aliens could not predict or stop these coordinated strikes. Roy Blake commanded a mixed fleet of human and alien ships. This was something that had never existed before in galactic history. Different species had always fought alone or been forced to serve the Council. Now they were choosing to work together as equals. Roy's fleet was like a symbol of what the galaxy could become if the rebellion succeeded. The Council's response was swift and brutal. They sent their elite enforcer fleets to crush the rebellion before it could spread further. These were the Council's best ships with their most experienced crews. They had never lost a battle and had destroyed entire civilizations that dared to resist Council rule. But the enforcers found themselves fighting a different kind of war. The rebels did not meet them in large space battles where the Council's superior numbers would matter. Instead, they used the tactics that humans had taught them: hit-and-run attacks, ambushes from behind asteroids, strikes at undefended targets while the main fleet was somewhere else. Susan Clark had established spy networks on dozens of worlds. Her agents were members of species that the Council thought were completely loyal. These spies provided information about enforcer fleet movements and secret Council plans. By the time an enforcer fleet reached a rebel world, the rebels were already gone or prepared for battle. The most important intelligence came from inside the Council itself. Susan's spies discovered that many Council species were starting to doubt their government. The defeat at Titan had shocked them, but the spreading rebellion terrified them. Some species were secretly negotiating with the rebels. Others were simply refusing to send more ships to fight. Amy Rodriguez made another breakthrough that changed the war completely. Her team had been studying captured Council computer systems for months. Finally, they cracked the master control, codes that the Council used to operate their automated defenses. These were robot weapons that protected important Council worlds and bases. With the control codes, humans could turn the Council's own defenses against them. Robot guns that were supposed to protect alien cities began shooting at Council ships instead. Automated missile systems fired on their own commanders. The Council's most secure bases became death traps for their own forces. Jake Morrison used this advantage to launch bold attacks on Council core worlds. These were planets that had been safe for centuries because they were so heavily defended. Now their defenses were controlled by human hackers who made the weapons serve the rebellion instead of the Council. The attack on Council Prime Station was Jake's masterpiece. This was a huge space station where the Council's government met to make laws for the galaxy. It was supposed to be impossible to attack because it was surrounded by thousands of automated defense platforms. But Amy's team had taken control of those platforms and turned them into weapons for the rebellion. Jake's fleet approached the station while the defense platforms pretended to attack them. To outside observers, it looked like the humans were being destroyed by the station's defenses. In reality, the platforms were destroying Council ships that came to help defend the station. By the time the Council realized what was happening, Jake's Marines were already inside the station. The battle for Council Prime Station lasted 3 days. When it was over, half the Council's government was dead or captured. The rest had fled to hidden bases throughout the galaxy. The mighty political entity that had ruled for over 1,000 years was falling apart. Ben Hayes coordinated rebel activities from his mountain bunker. Reports came in from all over the galaxy telling the same story. The Council was losing control. Species that had been loyal for generations were declaring independence. Council fleets were surrendering or defecting to the rebellion. The galactic government was collapsing faster than anyone had thought possible. The galaxy was changing, and everyone knew that humans had started that change. A species that most aliens had never heard of 6 months ago was now leading a revolution that would reshape civilization itself. The Council had made a terrible mistake when they tried to enslave humanity. Instead of gaining new slaves, they had awakened something that would destroy them completely. The final battle was coming to Galactic Central. This was the biggest space station ever built, floating in the center of the galaxy like a metal moon. For 1,000 years, it had been the heart of Council power. Every important decision was made here. Every law that controlled billions of lives was written in its halls. Now it would become the site of the war's last fight. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the massive station ahead. It was bigger than most planets and covered with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Around it floated the remaining ships of the Council's navy. These were their best vessels with their most loyal crews. They had come here to make their final stand. The Council leaders were desperate and afraid. Their empire was falling apart piece by piece. Whole sectors had declared independence. Their own military commanders were switching sides every day. They had gathered everything they had left at Galactic Central for one last battle. If they won here, they might be able to rebuild their power. If they lost, their 1,000-year rule would be over forever. Paul Murphy prepared his special forces, teams for the most dangerous mission of their lives. They would have to fight their way inside the station while the space battle raged around them. The station's corridors would be filled with alien soldiers who had nowhere left to run. These enemies would fight harder than any they had faced before because they knew this was their last chance. The human fleet was not alone. Ships from dozens of rebel species had joined them for this final assault. Trilaxian mining vessels carried powerful explosives. Aquatic peoples had sent their fastest attack craft. The insectoid hive clusters provided hundreds of small fighters that moved like a swarm of angry bees. It was the largest mixed fleet in galactic history. Amy Rodriguez had spent weeks preparing for this battle. Her scientists had found every weakness in the station's design. They knew which walls were thinnest, which power systems were most important, and which weapons were the most dangerous. Every rebel ship had been equipped with special tools designed to fight inside the massive station. The battle began when Jake's fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Galactic Central. The Council forces opened fire immediately with weapons that lit up the darkness of space like artificial stars. Energy beams and missile swarms filled the void between the two fleets. Ships on both sides exploded in brilliant flashes of light. But this battle was different from all the others. The rebels did not try to win through superior firepower or clever tactics. Instead, they fought with something the Council could not match. They fought with the absolute certainty that they were right. Every rebel pilot knew they were fighting to free their families and their worlds. Every Council soldier was fighting to keep others enslaved. Roy Blake led a squadron of mixed human and alien ships against the station's main weapons. These were massive guns that could destroy a battleship with one shot. Roy's pilots flew their ships directly at the guns, dodging energy beams that could vaporize them instantly. One by one, they destroyed the weapons that had protected the station for centuries. The space battle raged for hours while Paul Murphy's Marines fought to get inside the station. They used small assault ships to crash through the station's outer hull. Once inside, they faced corridors filled with alien defenders. The fighting was brutal and close, with no room for mercy on either side. Ben Hayes coordinated the attack from his command bunker on Earth. He watched reports come in from all over the battlefield. Human ships were taking heavy damage, but they kept fighting. Alien allies were making sacrifices that would be remembered for generations. Slowly, step by step, the rebels were winning. Susan Clark's spy networks provided crucial intelligence during the battle. Her agents inside the station told the rebels where the Council leaders were hiding. They also sabotaged important systems at exactly the right moments. When Council reinforcements tried to arrive, they found their communications cut and their navigation systems giving false information. The turning point came when Paul Murphy's team reached the station's central command center. This was where the Council's most powerful leaders had barricaded themselves behind layers of security. They thought they were safe behind force fields and robot guards. They were wrong. Human soldiers had learned to fight in ways that no other species could imagine. They did not follow the careful rules of galactic warfare. When force fields blocked their path, they found ways around them. When robot guards tried to stop them, they turned the machines into scrap metal. When locked doors barred their way, they made new doors with explosives. The Council leaders tried to surrender when they saw human Marines breaking down their final defenses. They offered to share power, to give the rebels anything they wanted if they would just stop fighting. But it was too late for negotiations. The time for talking had ended when the Council chose to betray humanity's trust. Jake Morrison received word that the station's command center had fallen. Around him, the space battle was ending as Council ships either surrendered or fled into hyperspace. The massive station that had been the symbol of galactic oppression was now flying rebel flags. The war was over, and freedom had won. Carol White and Joe Davis watched the victory celebrations from their factories on Earth. Their workers cheered and cried with joy. The weapons they had built and the sacrifices they had made had helped win the greatest victory in galactic history. Never again would any species have to fear the Council's tyranny. In the aftermath of the battle, alien refugees fled from the wreckage of their former civilization. Some had been loyal to the Council until the very end. Others had simply been afraid to join the rebellion. Now they all faced an uncertain future in a galaxy that no longer had room for oppression. Kate Sullivan had become the leader of the new galactic order. She was older and wiser than most of the other human commanders, and both humans and aliens respected her judgment. Kate knew that winning the war was only the beginning. Now they had to build something better than what they had destroyed. The message that Kate sent across the galaxy was simple but powerful. It reached every world where intelligent life existed. It was heard by species that were celebrating their freedom and by others that were still deciding which side to choose. The message would be remembered for thousands of years as the moment when the galaxy changed forever. Kate's voice was calm and professional when she spoke into the transmitter. She did not gloat about humanity's victory or threaten those who had opposed them. Instead, she made a promise that echoed across the stars. To any government, organization, or individual who thinks they can subjugate free beings, we have one word for you: run. The word run carried more power than any fleet of battleships. It meant that somewhere in the galaxy, humans were watching and waiting. It meant that oppression would always face resistance. It meant that freedom had champions who would never stop fighting for what was right. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of freedom had begun. And everyone in the galaxy knew that if they ever forgot the price of liberty, humans would be there to remind them with that single terrifying word: run.